I like Metroid. It's probably one of my favorite game franchises. Unfortunately, it's also one of Nintendo's more neglected ones. Metroid is definitely getting more love though, especially after Samus Returns was released back in 2017 and Metroid Prime 4 was announced. Hell, even Metroid Dread is finally a thing now. Although Metroid seems to be back, I can't shake this feeling I've had for a while. It started when Samus Returns came out. I thought, oh cool, Metroid's back. I got the game, enjoyed it, 100%ed it a few times, then just kind of stashed it away with the other 3DS games I'd never touch again. It wasn't a bad game. On the contrary, it was a perfectly good, playable game. But there was just something off about it. Was it the 3D graphics? 360-degree aiming? That melee counter that got really boring if you did it too much? I don't know. There are a few small things that kind of bother me about Samus Returns. It's insanely trivial stuff that really doesn't affect a player's enjoyment of the game, and I am fully aware of this. So, I don't want to see any arrogant anime profile pictures trying to one-up me in the comment section over this. One of my biggest issues with Samus Returns is the space jump. In the other 2D Metroids, when you got the space jump, Samus's somersault sprite turned into this really cool spiral animation. When I got the space jump in Samus Returns, I thought, oh sweet, I wonder what the animation will look like here. Her animation did not change. I was so disappointed here. It didn't look right to me. Imagine you're playing Super Mario World and you get the cape feather. You rack up enough speed for takeoff, and once you start flying, instead of playing the flight animation, Mario just idles in midair. That's how it felt seeing the regular somersault animation when doing the space jump. It just seemed so lazy. Screw attacking through blocks isn't as smooth as it was in the previous games. You cut through breakable blocks like butter in the other games. It's clunky here because you bounce off them slightly, like the block's collision is still active a millisecond after they've been destroyed. Also, screw attacking Morph Ball bomb blocks doesn't break them. Oh they're not screw attack blocks, so why should they? Well, they were breakable in Fusion and Zero Mission. It was just a small convenience I think could have stayed. Samus Returns is kind of like a 2D Metroid Prime. Fairly forgettable music, the fanfare for getting an item is the same, and the Morph Ball is metallic. I liked how the Morph Ball was like a rubber bounce ball in the 2D games. They had that satisfying sound effect when you jumped and landed, had a little shine on the edge of the sprites to indicate they were shiny, and when landing, you bounced a bit before stabilizing. The Morph Ball is just boring in Samus Returns. Dull graphic, metallic sound effects, and there's no bounciness. Another similarity Samus Returns somewhat shares with Metroid Prime is the doors, which are metallic. I always liked how they were in the other 2D games. They were these energy-based hatches that dissipated when shooting them. I don't know, they just had a more futuristic vibe to them. If you wasted your money on the Samus Returns amiibo, specifically the Metroid one, you could unlock a special hard mode that has Samus wearing the fusion suit. They kind of messed it up here though. What's with the shoulder pads? Samus didn't have shoulder pads in Fusion. That's probably the worst nitpick I have, but that's where they stop. Again, that was all insanely trivial stuff that doesn't affect a player's enjoyment of the game. It didn't affect my enjoyment either. This stuff just made me go, oh, that sucks, kind of wish it was like the other games, when I encountered them. Well, except for maybe the space jump. You know what felt more like a traditional Metroid game? AM2R. It's a great reimagining of Metroid 2, and basically feels like a sequel to Zero Mission. Street Fighter X Mega Man, a fan game, actually received support from Capcom. Sega hired Sonic fans to make Sonic Mania. What did Nintendo do with AM2R? Well, they shut the operation down. After nearly 10 years of development, Nintendo DMCA'd AM2R after it was released in 2016 because they feared people would play that instead of the Metroid 2 remake they'd release the next year. Yes, I understand that Nintendo is entitled to protect their intellectual properties, but were they really worried about some fan game stealing their players? Now, technically, I didn't play AM2R until 2019. However, if I had gotten it in 2016 before the download links were taken down, I still would have bought Samus Returns the next year. While AM2R is amazing, it's merely an unofficial fan project. Samus Returns, on the other hand, is an official Nintendo product that is drastically different from AM2R. When Samus Returns was announced, I don't think any Metroid fan in the world said, AM2R probably better game. Me gonna play that instead of Samus Returns. Anyway, the graphics and general feel of AM2R really help make it seem like an actual, authentic Metroid game. Samus Returns has 3D graphics, which I guess are cool, but I miss the sprite-based Metroid games. Back then, sprites were really all you could make for game graphics because of hardware limitations. Nowadays, certain games only have sprite graphics because people choose to use that art style. I highly doubt Nintendo will ever make a fully sprite-based game again, especially for Metroid. We already see this with Metroid Dread, which is pretty much the same style as Samus Returns, just enhanced for the Switch. Now, don't think something as insignificant as graphics is going to prevent me from playing any future Metroid games. If a game is fun, I'll play and enjoy it, regardless of graphics. Speaking of Metroid Dread, let's talk about it. I remember reading about initial attempts to make Metroid Dread years back. It always intrigued me, mostly because it was intended to take place after the events of Fusion, my favorite Metroid game. I always wanted a sequel to that game, and I remember writing down ideas for it thinking, if I ever get to work for Nintendo, the first game I want to work on is Metroid 5. Anyway, Metroid Dread is releasing in October, and I'm honestly pretty psyched for it. As intended, Dread comes after Fusion. I was really hoping if they ever made a Metroid 5, they'd keep the Fusion suit, and I guess that's because of how dramatic the acquisition of the suit was. Samus's fusion suit was a result of the surgery she had undergone after her initial encounter with an X-parasite. The organic components of her suit were embedded into her system, which I assume is just her body, so it couldn't be removed safely without hurting her. The surgeons did, however, remove other portions of her suit, which were probably the inorganic parts, like, you know, the metallic stuff. So, Samus was reborn in a weaker, more exposed, probably squishy suit. This suit is technically part of her now. At the end of Fusion, she does take it off, so I guess it isn't as embedded in her as it was during the initial X-parasite attack. I just think that integrated with my system statement warrants her keeping the suit on for a while. It just felt like it meant it was her new skin or something. The fusion suit was going to stay with her for a long time, like a scar. In Metroid Dread, however, she has this new suit. Sure, it's blue, thin, and has that little point at the center of the visor, but I feel it could have used a few more details to better resemble the fusion suit. I'm thinking Samus was attempting to get her suit rebuilt, and this was all she was able to muster before embarking on this new journey. Maybe the fusion suit's underneath, but it just looks like a new suit to me. I don't know, I guess I just like the fusion suit. This video is titled Metroid Games, but I've really only talked about Samus Returns and Dread. I guess I can briefly go through my experiences with the other 2D games. I remember playing the original Metroid 1 and 2 on browser emulators back when I was pretty young. I never actually finished them though. I was at an age where I just had no idea how to properly play games, so unless they were linear or told me exactly where to go, I wasn't going to finish them. Also, I didn't know how to save my progress on those browser emulators, so if it was time for me to go to bed, I'd just lose my progress after shutting my computer off. I didn't play Super Metroid until the Wii U came out. Yeah, I got it for the Virtual Console and enjoyed it quite a bit. Personally, I like Fusion more. I first played Zero Mission on my iPhone 4 back in middle school using GBA for iOS. It's definitely one of the best Metroid games ever made. I still don't own a physical version of it, so if I ever feel like playing Zero Mission, I'll just pull up a Retro Games website and play it there. I'll talk about Fusion some other time. Alright, that's it for the 2D games. What about the Prime series? Well, I don't really like those games. When Metroid Prime 4 was announced back in 2017, I thought, oh dang, I need to catch up and play the 3 Prime games ASAP. Who knows when they'll release this game? So, 3 years later, I began my hunt and managed to find a copy of Prime 1. I started playing it, then realized it looked like garbage on my modern TV. It was so dark, I could barely see anything in the starting area. The controls felt a little overwhelming, and I sucked at aiming. I managed to get past the Parasite Queen and get to the Talon overworld, but I just could not continue playing this way. I needed something better. So, I got the Prime Trilogy to play on my Wii U. I played it a bit, but ultimately lost interest. Sure, it was definitely a better way to play with the enhanced resolution and precise control using the Wiimote, but I just couldn't get into it. It could have been because I had other plans around the time I started playing it. I had just gotten a PS5, I wanted to play the Crash N. trilogy on it, Horizon Zero Dawn was free on the PlayStation Store, so I wanted to play that, I was planning on replaying Xenoblade Chronicles X again, I just wanted to do other stuff. That, in conjunction with the fact that I was kind of struggling to get into the game, made me set it aside. I stopped a little past the part where you get the boost ball in Metroid Prime 1. Yeah, I didn't get that far. So much for getting caught up for Prime 4. One thing I was thinking about while playing Prime 1 was collectibles. Hidden collectibles like weapon expansions were a major part of the previous Metroids. Because the games were 2D, it wasn't really difficult to find these collectibles. They were usually easy to find, but other times they just make you go, okay, how would I have found this without looking it up? Because Prime is a 3D environment, finding hidden collectibles is a little more difficult. Or at least, I think so. In the 2D games, there were usually abnormalities in walls and floors that indicated you could break them to reveal something on the other side. If not, you'd put bombs all over the place, or use a power bomb, to reveal a spot you could break with a certain power-up. It's not really the same in the Prime games, or at least from what I've experienced. Here, the environments are so detailed that you'd be really hard-pressed to find abnormalities in floors and walls that actually reveal a path to a collectible. I guess if you were subscribed to Nintendo Power at the time, you didn't have to complain about this. Whoa! If I sign up now, I can either get the official Metroid Prime Player's Guide or a Metroid Prime t-shirt. Who the hell would want the shirt? It's a complete ripoff. Think about it. Do you want a guide that shows you where all the items are and has additional information about the game, or some cheap shirt with an iron-on print that'll most likely crack after a few wash cycles? Anyway, then there's Metroid Prime's map. When I look at a map in a game, my caveman brain should instantly understand what's going on. Boom! The blinking square is where I am. I must go here. Looks like there's unexplored territory over there. Maybe I'll check that out later. I know I got some items earlier and that's what these dots represent. So maybe that circle means I missed an item. I'll have to go back there at some point. Whenever I opened up the map in Metroid Prime, it was just, let me just rotate it this way. Wait, no. I actually meant to rotate it the other way. Okay, I'm facing that way. Which of these tunnels did I just take? Have I already been there? Wait, which way am I supposed to go again? I don't know. This weird 3D map was just way too convoluted for me. Why didn't they just use a 2D overhead map like other 3D games? I guess it was just experimentation. 3D game? 3D map? Why not? I think I'll stop complaining about the Metroid Prime games now. Again, I'm not even halfway through the first one, so I don't think my complaining is really valid. Maybe all the issues I'm having are fixed in the other 2 Prime games, but I won't know until I play them. In conclusion, I don't think the Metroid Prime games are for me. I really want to enjoy them though. Maybe when I have the free time, I'll pick the trilogy up again. What other Metroid games are left? Oh, right, Other M. Haven't even played it because I know it's garbage, so I won't even talk about it. I knew Federation Force would be a disappointment, so I didn't buy it either. If I wasn't enjoying the regular Prime games, there is no way I was going to touch a DS version. Metroid Prime Pinball isn't even a Metroid game, so why would I play that? Okay, I think that's every Metroid game now. Man, for a Metroid fan, I seem to only like a few of the games. Then again, the franchise only has 13 games right now, so an affinity for 6 of them seems like enough. I said there was some feeling I couldn't shake about the Metroid franchise at the beginning of the video. I think this feeling stems from the fact that old Metroid will never return. I miss the look and feel of the old games. Imagine being a fan of the classic 2D Sonic games in the early 2000s. Sega keeps churning out mediocre 3D games, but you just want another 2D game. The Sonic Rush and Advance games are 2D, but they don't have the exact same feel as the old-school Genesis-style Sonics. Sonic Mania is there, but who knows if Sega will release another game like that. For Metroid, you have fans that like the old Metroids. Samus Returns is a 2D Metroid, but has a different feel compared to the others. They could try to emulate the feel of the old games, but it most likely wouldn't work well with the 3D graphics. It's kind of hard to explain what I mean by that, so I'll just use another example. Look at classic Sonic in Generations and Forces. They tried to emulate the feel of the old games, but it was off and led to its own kind of feel. If they perfectly emulated it though, I think it would still be off, but for a different reason. Genesis Sonic accelerates very slowly from standing still. Classic Sonic's acceleration is much faster. I think they had to go with this, otherwise it would have seemed off. It just wouldn't look right to have this 3D model of classic Sonic move at the same slow speed Sprite Sonic does. So, if we go back to Metroid, Samus's movements and sprite animations in the old games work well together. Samus's movements and animated 3D model work well together in Samus Returns. It's two different feels. You can't really combine the movements of Sprite Samus with the animations of 3D model Samus, or you'll be left with some awkward result. Because of this and the fact that Nintendo will most likely never make a sprite-based Metroid game again, I, as well as other Metroid fans that share the same sentiments, will likely never play a new, official Metroid game akin to Super, Fusion, or Zero Mission, and that kind of sucks. In conclusion, I like Metroid. My heart lies with the 2D sprite-based games, but Samus Returns is enjoyable, and Dread will definitely be as well. Though I don't enjoy the Prime games as much as the 2D ones, I respect those who do, and will definitely revisit the trilogy at some point. I hope Nintendo keeps the Metroid franchise alive for a long time, because I wouldn't want Samus to suffer the character from Super Smash Bros. Fate like Captain Falcon has.